William Shatner's Man of War panel. We have some great surprises for you, a special deal, and the man of the hour, William Shatner.
Yes. Thank you, everybody, and thank you for coming this afternoon. We've got some really interesting stuff for you, and we've got to sort of organize in a way. So why don't you take over and lead us along the path?
Absolutely. First, we're going to say that Bill has been very involved in comics for a long time. He's a love of comics. A lot of people don't know that. And he is involved in a very special new platform, a new type of digital reading experience called William Shatner's Man of War. We have a 6-minute video of it. Would you like to see it? Hey. Then without further ado, dim the lights.
I never understood that remark. Without further ado, what's a do? Yeah. Drop of a dude.
This is Bizarro World, dimming the lights.
Let there be light. Okay.
Let there be sound.
The corporate greed and over-reliance on technology have stripped Earth of its natural resources. We've become dependent on our Martian colony for food, minerals, and all the stuff of everyday life. And now the same human nature that has depleted the Earth threatens Mars, the last bastion of survival. In our hour of desperate need, only one man can protect both planets. His name is Ambassador Benton Hawks.
would you like to talk about adapting?
Well, what you saw here is like bits and pieces from the comic book segments that are coming up. There's 26, right?
We have 16 chapters.
16 chapters that are being prepared now, of which 8 are done, and the other 8 are almost done and ready to be seen. So you're looking at a comic book, which will tell you how to get the comic book, but it's not a comic book. You're looking at an animated movie. You see the people moving, but it's not an animated movie. What we've created is something in between a comic book and a movie. It's completely different. It's unique. We'll tell you how to get it and where it'll be up. But right now, what we'd like to tell you is how it all came about. And that's what I'm about to tell you.
Absolutely. We call this a cinematic graphic novel. It's not.
Cinematic graphic novel. New phrase. So some years ago, I sat down with a friend and wrote a book called Man o' War. I had the idea that someday in the future, not the very far future, Earth runs out of all the natural resources and we go to Mars to mine Mars. And we send a company of miners up there, a large group of people up there to be miners. We build an infrastructure and we promise them that when the company becomes successful, they'll get a percentage of the profit. It's nothing to sneeze at. And so the miners work for 20, 30 years. And the books of the company say it isn't successful. So they're getting poverty wages. During that time, the miners form families. And they have children. And the children grow to 16, 18, 20 years old. And they say to their parents, we're not getting any money. All we are is beholden to Earth. We want to have our freedom. We want to rebel. And so the young people of that colony, not unlike the American colony from the British, which was in my mind, rebel. Earth needs the minerals and the food that's growing on Mars. They need to put the rebellion down, like England 300-400 years ago. And Earth decides to send their best diplomat, whose name is Benton Hawks, to ameliorate, to be diplomatic, and to subdue the rebellion, not using force. Benton Hawks, by this time, has had his finger in every fight on Earth between the big companies that rule Earth. He's assuaged all the problems, and he's sick and tired of it. I've often proposed, when do you stand on principle? When do you say, I will be not pushed any further. This is a principle that I will not let go of. And when do you say, oh, okay, maybe we can, whether it's where you're going to eat tonight, or whether you're going to marry somebody, or whether you're going to change your position to go to do some other work. Your whole life, all our lives, is this exchange. When do I say no, or yes, positively, or when do you say, well, how can I adjust this position and be politic about it? When do you stop being politic and be firm on your opinion? Benton Hawks has had no opinion because he's tried to put a foot in each camp to make a diplomatic response. So he says, no, I'm not going to Earth. And he goes home, to his home, in the wilds of Wyoming. And somebody, some mysterious entity, which we'll find out about, raids his home, kills people, and Benton Hawks, in a rage, goes to Mars to put down the rebellion. And there, he becomes imbued with the fervor of the young people. And like George Washington, in the American Rebellion, becomes one of the leading lights of the rebellion. He is like the grand man of the rebellion. That's essentially the beginning of the plot. Now, I wrote the book, and somebody said, how would you like to make a comic book about it? I thought, well, that would be good. And I was watching television one day, and Ricky Gervais, yes, Ricky Gervais? He was a radio performer in England for the longest time, and then came to the States and was this wonderfully funny guy who's had many successful programs. One of the things he had on television was his old radio show. I happened to be glancing by, and I saw on television flash figures, right? We call them flash, with little mouths moving, and so his radio show was on television with little mouths moving. I looked at that and I thought, this guy has taken his radio show and made sort of like a comic book in a way. But nobody moved and just the mouths moved. They were verbally very funny. I thought, I could do that, but better. Gathered around Mariano Nicenza, Scott Liggett, and Gary Laird. We formed a company, and the idea was to be, let's make something between a movie and a comic book. And that's what we've got. And sitting on the panel are some of the people who made that effective.
And we will be introducing them in a second, but I do want to say to Bill, when the book was written, it was incredibly prescient, because at that time, corporations weren't people. And there were no federal rulings saying that corporations could have religious rights. So your book foresaw all of this.
Well, the way science fiction works best is if there are certain principles that we think exist, because all of science is rumor anyway. I mean, you no sooner turn around than some tightly held principle is upturned, and I believe the closely held truth of everything is the speed of light. And I'm telling you, as surely as I'm sitting here, someday in the future, we're going to find that the speed of light is not the exactness that we all think it is. That there is such mysterious things that we only have hints of that exist in the universe, that we take those hints and make them facts in science fiction. But those hints themselves will be upturned. We know nothing. It's all rumor.
Thank you, Bill. Now that we have got some background on Man of War, let's meet some of the talented creators. These are guys that draw for Marvel Comics, for DC Comics, for all the independents. They publish their own stuff. So I'm going to let them take it away, beginning right here with Rick Eamon.
Afternoon. Yeah, I'm Rick Eamon. I've worked with Marvel, DC, Magic the Gathering, and a slew of others. Do mainly concept. I love concept. I love comics, and of course science fiction. And so when I was asked to come on board, and William Shatner was going to be part of this thing. I jumped, and glad I did.
Next up.
Eric Vincent. I've worked for Budweiser, LG, done covers for various authors, book covers. I got the opportunity through Mariano to come on board with this, and I'm really enjoying it. I've done some ink work on it, doing some coloring, working with a wonderful group of people here. And when I first met Shatner, I geeked out and didn't know what to say because I grew up watching him on television, and it's an honor to be part of this.
I'm surprised to see you speak, actually.
Now, before we introduce our equally creative technology platform distribution partner, Ed Lang from Panelfly, we have a couple more artists.
Hi, my name's Phil McNulty. I was an inker, penciler, all-around illustrator on the project, and my work has been seen for Kevin Smith's Smodco cartoon show, as well as some other independent comic books. And I always wanted to be a comic book artist ever since I was a little kid, because my dad, he shared his love of comics on to me, and he also shared his love of Star Trek. I used to watch it every morning with him. So as soon as I heard that it was Mr. Shatner's comic book, and it was a comic book together, how could I say no to it? So I'm very honored to be on this project.
My name is Wilson Ramos. I'm the art director on the project. I take everybody's wonderful work and help bring it together. I was an artist for Marvel, sketch card artist for Upper Deck and Topps, currently doing the Star Wars projects. Having a blast doing this project, so I get to dive in both worlds, I guess you could say, and stay in sci-fi.
Kelly Zimmerman. I've done some independent projects. I took a break from comics for a while. I was painting. I did pencils and inks on a couple of chapters of this project, and I was just contacted kind of out of the blue, asking if I wanted to work on this project, and it was a top secret thing at the time, so I kind of declined at first, and then when I found out it was William Shatner, I was, yes, I'm there, I'm in.
And my name is Frank Leveccia. I'm the editor of the project. I don't just moderate it for a living. And I wrote for the mini-series Atomic Age for Marvel's Epic line. I wrote Pokemon Hex for Marvel's Clive Barker line, the Razor line. And other stuff for Marvel, for Dark Horse. I am a journalist and editor. And when Mariano asked me to be part of this, I could not say no. It is an exciting thing to be part of a brand new digital platform. Cinematographic novels, they're not like anything else. They're not, motion comics are like crappy animation. And they're not digital comics that are just static on the screen. Here we have movement, we have sound, we have music, and yet it's a reading experience. There's no voice actors telling you what somebody sounds like. That remains in your head, that activates that part of your mind. It is an interactive experience. And to tell you a bit more about it, Ed Lang, the CEO of the great digital distribution company, Panelfly.
Good afternoon. I'm probably the least creative guy up here right now, but it is what it is. It's a shame Mariano's not here because everyone's mentioned his name. He's who I met a year and a half ago, and likewise got sort of brought into this project not knowing exactly what it involved, but like everyone else was immediately enamored of the idea of working with Bill and his vision. Panelfly started 3 years ago in the digital comic space. We quickly decided it wasn't that exciting and wanted to go more into interactive comics and franchise level experiences. So we were one of the first ones to do that with Parallax on iPads and doing some of the effects you see up here, but again, nothing to the level, the acronym we say in the office is CGN, so nothing to the level of this new format, which is still a lean forward type format as opposed to, like Frank says, a lean back experience that you just sort of sitting there being driven by actors talking to you. So we were very excited to get involved in the project. We met with Bill about a year ago, talked about some of the things we were building and some of the experiences we have. And I think what's going to be interesting for everyone is even for our company, this will be the first time we're going to release an entire franchise experience around the title. So even though you're seeing the CGN now, what will happen between now and this fall is there will be a release of not only the 16 chapters of the cinematic graphic novel, there will be the digital comics, but they'll be all highly interactive, where you'll see the inks, you'll see the various layers. There will be interactive hotspots. These guys are creating almost as much content for producing the CGN as background stories. There's interviews from Bill, there's behind the scene information. All of that will become available as interactive feature sets, not only with the CGN, not only with the digital comic, but we're also redoing the ebook so that there will be interactive layers on that.
That's something that should be discussed as well. So the novel, in the coming months, the novel will be published as an ebook, but it will be interactive with the comic book, so that if you wanted more of an explanation of something that was occurring on the screen, you would press an element and something from the novel will come up to explain in written word what you're seeing visually. So that ebook, that comic book, and that cinematic graphic novel will all be available to you simultaneously in the next few months.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So again, the release schedule will carry through the summer, when we'll release not only the CGN but all the other elements. And then later this fall, we'll have the entire immersive experience dubbed Shatner Singularity, because we're gonna grow beyond the Man of War book. We're gonna actually continue this project. We know it'll be commercially successful. We know it'll be a fan fave. So we've decided we're gonna actually build an entire experience around Shatner's IP that exists today, and possibly even future projects.
Well, I've got a new novel coming out that's really a science fiction novel that will lend itself to this platform enormously, so I'm looking forward to that. I haven't broached that yet with my partners, but that is the case.
So, keep your ears open. We'll obviously have more press. The graphic up will be, the website you can constantly go to for some updates along the way. I think we'll have follow-on announcements at future Comic-Con events and other cons.
Well, we are.
Stay tuned.
And that definitely is. So you people here today are the first, you're the first people we've shown this to. You're absolutely the audience for the first time. And so what you're seeing was bits and pieces of what's obviously a cohesive story from the beginning to the end. What you are really seeing is the technology. It's a fascinating story along the lines that I outlined to you, so that you'll be seeing an exciting story, but the technology which you saw today has been shown for the first time to you. We're in effect trying it out on you to see whether it has the same appeal to you that it does to us. So you're our first audience. You're our premier audience.
And let's thank Bill for that. He's the only one that allowed us to do this.
So, finish what you were saying. I only interrupted you to explain what the future benefits that we have coming up.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I think you hit upon it. If you go to the website, most people obviously don't know this website exists. We're unveiling the URL. If you go there, there is a special discounted pre-sale offer that's going to be made available to you, obviously, who know about this URL. We'll leave that offer up for a limited period of time, and then we'll pull it down. But it'll be your chance to be able to, purchase the entire bundle of Man of War CGN for a discounted price, and you'll be the first ones to find out all the other future stuff that comes out.
What is the website?
ShatnerManOfWar.com should be
ShatnersManOfWar.com.
Why, I think there's a big picture behind us over there.
Well, that didn't notice that. I got so anxious. Go there and be part of the future. Be part of this thing that we've unveiled that we think will be enormously popular, and you're the first ones to see it. Based on your interest, we'll know more about how interesting we've made it.
It is shatnersmanowar.com. There's no apostrophe because we just don't have time for an apostrophe.
I love that. I'll have to use that one.
Yeah,
The future is now.
But I think is what's so unique about this is because digital comics have been tried before. Because I remember my dad would take me to the comic book store and we'd get a pull list to get all of our comics out. And I really wanted an issue of the X-Men. And they said, oh, well, that's a digital only. And then I remember, all right, so I go on the website and then seeing it and you're like, what the hell is this? You know, it wasn't anything special. And when you look at this, I mean, and they even had some voice actors. What I love about a comic book is that reader experience, that everyone has a voice, has their own different voice for different characters. And that's what this allows you to do. Yes, it has music in the background, but it sort of draws you in. You have Mr. Shatner's narration, which presents you into this world, so you're already in there. And then the movement is just the movement in the panels. You're going to be able to get the movement and animation. That's not going to take you away from it, and then it's actually going to go to the next panel. So it really is that full-on reading experience of a comic book that I've always, loved. And I think it's kind of cool because I started out as drawing, pencil and ink, and so I was really into this digital movement. So as a young guy here, as everyone here is young, but I think it's there. And I think it's just really that new movement and this new technology. And I think, as working on it, I think all of us went, holy shit, this is a good thing to bring into the world. I think this is great. I think this is the next step for comic books.
I think you just repeat it with every father with a new baby. Holy shit, look at that.
What do you got? It's cool to take part of something so revolutionary and to have Mr.
But
Shatner.
here's what I think happens, and I only came upon this. I don't know why he's laughing. I'm laughing at his youth, actually, and his enthusiasm. Here's what I think happens in this new process, and I'm basing what I'm about to say on my experience, seeing it when they presented it to me in its finished form. I thought, here's what I'm doing. When a painter puts a brushstroke to a painting, it's merely a line of color. Slashes that and does that. Then he has to step back to see whether he's painted that leaf or that flower, other than the minuteness of the one splash of red. He's got to go back and say, does that make the flower look like a flower, or does it give the feeling of the flower, depending on how he's painting? And that line of paint merges, and your eye and your brain merges that line of paint, and now your brain says that's a flower. And the painter has accomplished what he's meant to do. He's painted, he's put grease on a piece of burlap, and he's made a flower. Here's what I think happens when you see this new digital comic book. You're looking at the comic book, you say, okay, it's a comic book, and suddenly the figure moves. You say, my goodness, the figure is moving. Now, it's not moving with the fluidity of a movie. It's moving kind of strangely because there are elements being primitively shown. So that primitive thing is somewhere between, as I said, a movie and a comic book. But then your mind merges the movement into the whole, and suddenly it becomes uniquely what it is. This moving experience, which is neither comic book nor animated film. It's somewhere in between, and your brain accepts it like it accepts the merging of a line of paint that becomes a flower. And that's the magic of what I think happens.
Now, we're going to, in a minute, open it up to Q&A. A couple of things first. I would like to quickly introduce the founding fathers of LNL, the actual LNL. They cannot be here with us tonight. We have offices in Hollywood and New York, and as Bill said, they are rushing to get all 16 chapters together. We've gotten chained to a palm tree out there. Mariano Nicieza is a publisher and an editor with credits that include writing, illustration, design, or art for companies like Marvel, Disney, Malibu, Fleer, Paramount, and Panasonic. As a matter of fact, he was one of my editors at Marvel when he was there. Gary Laird, who is the digital artist, he's won an Emmy Award. He has, for the last 12 years, created and designed thousands of digital animations and DVD promotions for Walt Disney Home Entertainment. So whenever you see one of those Walt Disney things, that's our man, that's Gary, that's the guy doing this. And finally, we have Scott Liggett, who has also won an Emmy Award. He is a music and audio producer. He's had a successful career as a musician, a music producer, and executive. He's worked with William Shatner. He's worked with all the major TV networks, and the NFL Super Bowl, American Greetings, and he's worked with Howard Stern. Hey! So that's who L&L are. These are serious people, and I am so proud, and we all are. We're all so proud to be working with Bill Shatner and also with the guys from L&L. They're amazing. Before we put the Q&A, I just want to tell you some more things about the story. I want to ask Bill a couple of questions before I turn it over to you. You know, we have one of the characters is a gay man. He wasn't gay in the book. We're updating it for this. And in this future, there's no homophobia. He's just a guy. And one of the nice relationships in it is that this character, a scientist, Carl Jarlick, is bros with Met and Hawks. The two of them have this really great odd couple relationship as they go through this. Bill, are there...
Not Ben and Hawks. The relationship is not...
Oh no, they're bros, just bros. They're just guys.
Be clear about it.
They are just a couple of... No, actually, Benton does have a romantic relationship with Dina Martell, who is a sharpshooter. And that's both her expertise with guns, and also she's got a smart mouth on her. So I think you gotta like that. Bill wrote strong women in his book, and we think that it's a very important thing to reflect. Yeah! Bill, would you like to talk, before we turn it over to questions, would you like to talk a little bit about the characters that you created?
Well, I wish I could say that they were characters that were oblique and different, and like some great writer writes unique characters and situations. Here, we've got a leading man, older man that is a hero and is strong and is only weak or hesitant because he doesn't want to be in a position of having to bring people together. He wants to stand on his own principles. But strong women are necessary to have something for the male leading character to interact with, and then a whole host of other characters, the miners and their rebellion, all give off interesting people who are in the book for their own purposes. My thought was in writing the book that this was the American Revolution, and that the incidences in the coming books would reflect the incidences in history of the American Revolution. The marvelous things that George Washington did, even in defeat. Those of you who know about how America rebelled against England, and the source of the rebellion, and the minds that were at work to make the rebellion, to issue the proclamations and to write them. They're gathered in those rooms, some of the greatest minds that have ever lived, as we know from American history. And then these battlefield experiences that the American Revolution experienced, with the battle with the Indians, with the battle with the French, with the battle with the British, with the forces that were at work to undo the revolution, and finally its emergence. So that's what will take place on Mars in a futuristic world where a revolution takes place from tyranny to freedom.
Now, before we start questions, I want to acknowledge Brookdale Community College interns who have helped us enormously on this. Eric, our intern.
Intern, stand.
Stand up, guys.
Interns, stand. Interns, sit.
Yeah, we have Elliot and Dave, Ty, and Joe here. They're 4 of the interns that came with us, and they're working on doing the digital comic layouts. And it was through Mr. Shatner's support of education and the arts, along with L&L, that we were able to form this partnership. And these guys are under my control. Just under one step of Shatner right now. No, my control. Oh yeah, they could be under my control too.
Ship the place in their head.
So the future not only is now, the future is then. Now we're going to open it up to questions. So,
Have we done enough to tell everybody how to get to the website and what's?
We never do enough. Ed.
Have you finished your message of where?
I think so. Does everyone know? I mean, you just bought it. There you go.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, and again,
Thank you, sir.
I should get your name before you leave. The first sale, we should
Commemorate that.
We can eat tonight.
Yes, exactly. First time in a year. No.
And how big a discount, just for the people in this room, because once this is over, nobody else gets it. How big is the discount?
Yeah, the anticipated retail price will be $14.95 or more. It's discounted right now for $9.99, so it's a pretty decent discount. But more importantly, you'll be able to sign up for the newsletter. So like I said, you'll be able to get sort of the first announcements of what's going to happen. And the fact that you're here for this experience, we're going to keep giving you the information before everyone else. And in particular, if we're going to do any kind of specials or promotions or special events or giveaways at other events like San Diego Comic-Con or New York Comic-Con, you'll be on that list and you'll be the first to find out and be able to come enjoy those things as well.
Question, the format at which these cinematographic novels, CGN, a mouthful, how does it play as far as when it's downloaded? What are they playing? Are we playing it on Mac? Are we playing it on Vimeo? Where is it?
Great question from the audience. Yeah, the release right now is on Vimeo, so that's nice because it's a web browser. You'll be able to take it with you anywhere. This summer, when we release it digitally, it'll be in the typical storefronts. We're in the finishing stages of that. So if you're an iOS person and want to go to iTunes, or an Android person, go to Google. We're working and finishing that so that it'll be available in those storefronts. But then don't forget, the exciting part will be later this fall. You'll be able to download an application, and that's where we can really do more of the fun things that we've been working with Bill on, with all this interactivity. And you're watching one media type, whether it's the CGN or you're reading the experience of the book, and it will cross-pollinate to the content on the other one, and you'll be able to access all the behind-the-scenes content. We're even going to have links out to various websites, as Frank mentioned, sort of the context of what's going on in the post-Supreme Court case.
So what's happening really is this is also innovative. The presentation, not only is the content innovative, but getting it and what it contains is absolutely innovative. There are 5, I think, principal rules of the universe, right? I mean, electromagnetism. But there's no unifying concept, right? Okay. So we're all they're looking for like the unifying thing. There's so many things in the social media that there's Twitter and that. Is there a unifying place where we can go and get the message and see the video and get this is a step in that direction.
It is. It is. I mean, at Panelfly, we always sit back, and the challenge we try to solve, and I can only refer to Batman because the shirt's been staring at me the whole time. That is certainly my favorite comic figure. We just kept asking ourselves, why isn't there a single Batman location? And I ask the DC people this all the time. Why isn't there one place I can go and not only get and experience everything related to Batman, but it interacts with all the other pieces of the Batman franchise? And that was sort of the mission we went on. And what's exciting for us from our company perspective is working with someone like Bill, we're going to be able to deploy this franchise. And like I said, over time, when the application becomes Shatner Singularity, and it's not just the Man of War book, it's all of his intellectual property, the amount of endless possibilities you have for giving you layer upon layer, discovery mechanism versus discovery mechanism, rabbit hole after rabbit hole of finding and exploring the franchises is what is exciting to us. And even though traditionally that may not be a technical problem in the marketplace, we think it is the kind of fan fest everyone has been looking for. Being able to put this all in a single place. As you all know, when you download a book on iTunes, or you buy a comic book at Comixology, or you download an animated motion picture from somewhere, none of it works together. And that is what you will see this fall. Finally, all these elements working together, but all of them having multiple layers of depth to it with more and more content, including social.
Is the veritable Shatner singularity. And I've been asked, Bill is going to be signing after this for a short while, so be sure to go there, shake his hand, congratulate him. He'll congratulate you, everybody congratulates us. And we're going to open this up for just a couple of minutes, so let's have some questions. Yes, this gentleman here.
I am, as my friends will tell you, the least technical person ever.
No, I'm in front of you. And that's the truth. Yeah. Well,
just a question for people with reading impairments. I don't know if you've considered this, but as I'm watching this, you know, it has its own pace. And I was able to read it okay. But for someone maybe with a little bit of an impairment, will there be a way, or is it something you might want to consider to slow down the amount of time that the thought bubbles are over there? Or is it plausible?
It's plausible. It's plausible.
You know, so either way,
oh, interesting. That's a really, that's good feedback. We'll remember that.
I have, you know, a couple of kids that are younger that, you know, what, I missed that.
Yeah.
Maybe if there was a different pace to it, might.
It is absolutely plausible. And now that you mentioned kids, I do want to mention, you heard the word shit here earlier. You will never hear the word shit in William Shatner's Man of War. I think we have hell. I think we may even go to a dam.
I apologize, I got a little excited there.
It just slipped out.
It just slipped out.
But yeah, it's kids can read Man of War. Yes, we have a question. Yes, this gentleman.
I think it's really your passing and I love your novel work, Mr. Shatner. I was just wondering, once Man of War is concluded, does that conclude your involvement? If this platform is successful, is there potential you may see a news story, not even necessarily novel length, but even just a short story in this format for you?
Well, Man of War has a sequel. So if this is successful, I would imagine we'd go to the sequel of Man of War. And then, since it lends itself to additional novels based on even moderate success, if we can build an audience, we'd write a third novel, again based on history and taking the chrysalis of the story from a historical event and imagining from there on. Yes, I see this as being ongoing, absolutely.
We do have, the sequel is The Law of the War. We've already got plans for that. And we are looking at a trilogy, but you know, a lot of this depends on you. So $9.99, which is like a third off, and it's for over 2 hours. A cinematic graphic novel, 16 chapters, more than 2 hours of entertainment. This gentleman in the yellow.
I just want to say thank you for being William Shatner. You're awesome.
I think we can all agree to that.
And can I have your name and number? I want you to follow me everywhere.
If I run into you, I'd love to have a beer with you. I'm the owner of Club Cosplay. I'd love to have you. I'd love to have one day.
Wait a minute, you're the owner of what?
Club Cosplay, the Nerd Nightclub.
Oh, really?
We're all over the world. We sell out House of Blues, 1200. We're doing all 3 afterwards.
I think the audience should take note of that, absolutely.
Everybody's home, people.
Okay, we have time for one final question. The lady in blue. All right.
Would you stand up so I can see you?
Oh, okay.
It's great. It's a great costume.
You did have a question?
And you're beautiful. And you're standing up so bravely. You look great.
title as not with the horse, but a man, Benton Hawks, of war. He becomes a man of war. And also man of war was the term used for sailing ships that had cannon. They were men of war. So since a lot of the action takes place on spaceships and firing, it had man of war and man of war sort of tied into my mind. But as for the horse, I can't picture that on Mars. I can picture the world away, but not that one. No, but interesting. Thank you for asking that.
Now, Bill is going to be doing his regular Star Trek signing tomorrow from 4 to 5. But in the meantime, let's give a big hand to William Shatner, all our creative artists, art director, Will Scramble, CEO, Panel Play, and Lang. All right.
Thank you, everybody. I'll be spend a few moments downstairs. If anybody wants an autograph, I'll be down there for a few moments.
Yes, and if you guys are still at the convention, I have my own booth called the 8 Spot, which is 1811, and yours.
And I'm at in Creators Alley, table 1706, and I've got some work from Man of War, the covers, as well as some interiors and some art. So come check it out.
And Bill's got the Star Trek panel. Anybody else?
Tomorrow at 4.
Tomorrow at 4.
I have 2 books coming out later this year, Children of the Ashes and Dominion's Gate, and I hope you can come out.
And you can find me on Facebook, E. Vincent Art, and follow my trails with the project.